Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with random reviews from the Overflow room. And we've been working backwards through the alphabet, and we've arrived at Ravel. And never has so much space been devoted to a composer who wrote so little. I mean, unless I had a room full of like Henri Duparc, right? But no, I don't. This is an extraordinary pile of stuff. It really is. I mean, there's just lots and lots of it. So let's just get right to it and see what we have. I have a large clump of goodies. First, Ravel, Daphnis, and Chloé, complete with the Seattle Symphony and Jerry Schwartz. Now, this is a very interesting disc because it's on Delos. All of this Delos stuff eventually got licensed to Naxos and reissued because it's owned by the Seattle Symphony. Not by Delos. It was never owned, I don't think it was. Anyway, the Daphnis and Chloé, it's a very good one, is all on one track. And they justify this by saying part one, part two, part three, played without pause. Well, they could have inserted track numbers there, couldn't they? In case we wanted to hop around, because a 57-minute single track is a meal. And it's very hard to search within it if you are so inclined. But the coupling is wonderful. David Diamond's Elegy in Memory of Maurice Ravel. A wonderful, perfect coupling. So that's just beautiful. That's why I kept that, because of the David Diamond. The Naxos reissued this, by the way, and I think they put in track listings, and I probably have it sitting over there. So we'll see. We'll see. It's either there or it's upstairs. I know I have more than one of them. Janet Baker singing Ravel, 3 poems of Stéphane Mallarmé for voice, 2 flutes, 2 clarinets, string quartet, and piano. Gorgeous, beautiful, beautiful stuff. The Chansons Madagascar, the Madagascar songs, which are quite wonderful. I need to tell you a little something about the Chansons Madagascar. Actually, as part of my second master's thesis that I did when I was a graduate student at Stanford University was about Orientalism in 19th century classical music or 19th century music, French music particularly, and specifically the contrast between images of the East as portrayed in the traditional nationalist imperialist style by Leo Delibes in Lakmé, where the Western people are young and virtuous and sexy and all of that stuff, and of course the Asian or Eastern element is of course extremely sexy, but also decadent and primitive and brutal and they're not the good guys. I mean, Lakmé is, of course, but the rest of them aren't. And it's a very, very interesting shift that happens as the century goes on between portraying the West as, the element of virtue, and it totally switches. The West becomes the bearer of decadence and unhappiness and miserableness and evil. And that's what happens in the Chansons Madagascar, which makes a wonderful foil to the portrait of Western culture in Lakmé, because in the second, or which is the first, which one of these suckers, which is the second one, Awa, méfiez-vous des Blancs, beware of the white folks on the coast. They killed us. They're evil, they're loathsome, they're the bringers of cultural decadence and rot, as opposed to the noble, savage innocence of these supposed primitives in the Eastern world. It's a very, very interesting thing, I mean, to study and research, because it happens, and it happens, possibly most tellingly in Madame Butterfly, where you have the Japanese who are, I mean, they have their good folks and bad folks, but Cho-Cho-san is obviously a woman of love and passion and great nobility of character. And the Americans are just thoroughly callous and evil and revolting. And it happened. It was a cultural shift toward the end of the 19th century. And it was a sign of, some people regard it as a sign of the decadence of Western culture and the impending collapse of that culture that would culminate in the dual conflagrations of World War I and World War II, which were, of course, part of one single process. Really a fascinating topic. So that was, I wrote about it pretty extensively. And here we have Janet Baker singing these wonderful, wonderful songs, along with the Chansons Perpétuelles and Maurice Delage's 4 Hindu poems. What are you doing? Hello. Oh, it's Finster. How you doing, sweetie? Anyway, so there you have it. Really amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. That's a Decca recording. And Janet Baker is also astonishing in that repertoire. Hey, want to say hello? Here, let me see if I can get her in. There she is. There she is under the chair. Yes. Say hi. Say hello. Okay. Finster loves it down here. She only gets to come down here basically when I'm down here working, or when we ship her down periodically, because otherwise, we'll close the basement door and we won't know if she's down here or not. I'm sure you've all had that experience if you've had cats. They get into things, you shut the door, and there they are, and you find them hours later. So we try to be rather careful. So, hello, you can hang out there, that's fine. Then we have, let's see what we got here. Great voices of the 50s from the legendary Decca archive. And we've got Scheherazade and the Mallarmé poems with Suzanne Donko, another fantastic soprano, and To the Manor Born with Ansermet and l'Orchestre de la Suisse Romande. She's also doing, well, who else have we got here? Irma Colassi doing the Chansons Poèmes de l'amour et de la mer with the London Phil and Louis de Froment, and Debussy La Demoiselle Élue with Janine Michaud and Janine Collard with the Paris Conservatory Orchestra under Jean Fournet. Great stuff. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. Another wonderful vocal thing. Yeah, Frederica von Stade. The Berlioz, Nuit d'été, Debussy, La Demoiselle Élue, and Ravel, Scheherazade, with the Boston Symphony and Seiji Ozawa. Now, we just had the Boston Symphony and Seiji Ozawa doing this stuff with Sylvia McNair and others. This is on Sony, and it's beautiful. It's absolutely first class. Scheherazade is particularly wonderful. It's just a terrific performance of that. The Art of Charles Munch, Volume 33. This is the Japanese Munch edition. And it's Debussy, the Prelude to the Afternoon of a Faun, 2 of the Nocturnes. I don't know why he never did Seal In. It never made sense. Printemps, which is loads of fun, and the Ravel, La Valse, and Bolero. So it's that stuff. I kept all these Japanese editions and things, sometimes in a clump, and sometimes I broke them up and sprinkled them alphabetically in the main collection here. And what we got here, Jacqueline Blancard with Ernest Ansermet, doing the Ravel Piano Concerto for the left hand, the Piano Concerto in G major, and a bunch of Mozart piano sonatas. Now, this was recorded in 1953 and 1951 with the Orchestre de la Suisse Romande, which was rather scruffy in those days, as you can hear for yourself. Oh, there she goes again, back to the window. It's interesting to have, because I collect Ravel Piano Concerto recordings. If you want me to tell you what makes these performances different from all other performances, well, I'd have to go back and spend a lot of time listening, because I don't remember all of the details. Sometimes I do. I have a memory for weirdness. If something is unusual or different from everything else, it'll stick in my memory. If it's just good and they play it and it's decent, then I tend to just it just gets lost in the shuffle. I'm sure that, you've had similar feelings. André Cluytens, Ravel, his sensational Ravel stuff with the Paris Conservatory Orchestra. This is a twofer, the EMI twofer version of it, that has most everything except Daphnis and Chloé. It's got 2 hours and 13 minutes of stuff, and we don't need to go into the details because we're going to talk about the Cluytens Ravel often in this series, because I have it in every possible configuration that it pops up in. In fact, I think I have it in another configuration. Ravel, Daphnis and Chloé, La Valse, Pavane for Dead Princess with Dutoit in Montreal. The Daphnis is the best thing he ever did in Ravel, and this was his first Decca recording with Montreal. And what a big deal they made of it. He was supposed to be the second coming of Ansermet. He really was, and Decca recorded tons and tons of stuff in Montreal, as you well know. It didn't exactly turn out that way, but the Daphnis is terrific, and the sound was terrific, and it really is. It's first rate. It's first rate. The rest of his Ravel was not as interesting. It really wasn't. Now, what do we have here? Here's André Cluytens again with the Paris Conservatory Orchestra from 1963 and 1955 doing the complete Daphnis and Chloé, which was missing from that other thing. This is on Testament in stereo, and Franck's Sichet Suite in mono from 55. It's a nice coupling, and that's why I got it there. The big Cluytens box had not been issued at that point. Ravel Melodies, 2 CDs. Remember, EMI, back before they were Warner, had a whole French melody edition where they did all of the melodies by Debussy, by Ravel, by Fauré, and it was a beautiful series of recordings. I have them all around here somewhere, and the singers are incredible. It's Felicity Lott, Mady Mesplay, Jesse Norman, Teresa Berganza, Gabrielle Baquier, José Van Damme, and the pianists are Dalton Baldwin and other people, and Plasson and the Toulouse Orchestra are doing this stuff, and it's like all the Ravel songs. So, yeah, nice to have, right? This is also a wonderful disc. This is a Decca Classic Sound series. So many of these mid-price budget series. This features Ossian Ellis harp with the Melos Ensemble. And this is one of those great records everybody should have, because you've got Ravel's Introduction and Allegro, the Debussy Sonata for flute, viola, and harp, Roussel's Serenade, which is a masterpiece, and Guy Ropart's Prélude Marine et Chanson, which is also a minor masterpiece. And Ropart's is not generally a very interesting composer, but this is a beautiful little work. So, yeah, take a look, see if you can get your hands on it, because it's really, really worth having. There it is. Melos Ensemble, Ravel, Debussy, others, Roussel. Okay, reference recordings. You buy them because they're reference recordings. And the performances are often quite good, too. It's A.G. Owe with the Minnesota Orchestra. They're terrific. And it's Bolero, Orchestral Fireworks. I love these collections. Oh, they're so much fun. We've got Kovalevsky, Colas Brognon Overture, Deems Taylor, Looking Glass Insects. That's from Through the Looking Glass Suite, a movement of that. The Flight of the Bumblebee, Liszt Les Preludes, Brahms Hungarian Dance No. 3, the Horace Staccato by Dinitsu, Dvorak's Slavonic Dance, Opus 72, No. 2, Jarnefeld, Preludium, Berlioz' Dance of the Sylphs, Otto Klemperer's Merry Waltz. These aren't exactly fireworks. At least this clump of them isn't, this little batch. Chabrier's Habanera and Bolero. Fabulous sound, a weird collection of stuff. But, you know, someday you may want the Jarnefeld Prelude or some other thing, and there it is. All right, what do we got here? We have a Naxos thing. Ravel Piano Works Volume 2. I assume I have Volume 1 somewhere. With François-Joël Thiolier. Yes, piano. I mean, these are good performances. This particular volume 2 has Valse Noble et Sentimentale, Le Tombeau du Couperin, La Valse in the piano version, and Gaspard de la Nuit, which is always like, I also collect Gaspards, but I don't collect them like some of the real Gaspard people collect them, because, you know, it's one of those iconic piano works that once you get hooked on, you can't have enough of them. Oh yeah, Boulez does the weird Ravel, vocal stuff. We have the 3 poems of Stéphane Mallarmé with Gilles Gomez, and the Chanson Madécasse with Jesse Norman, which is wonderful. Don Quixote à Dulcinea with José Van Damme, which is also wonderful. The 5 Mélodies Populaires Grecques with José Van Damme, which is also great. And the Roussel Third, which is a strange, somewhat congested sounding performance. It sounds a little asthmatic. And it shouldn't, actually, but, you know, at least Boulez did it. I mean, that's nice. And last but not least, this is Ravel Orchestral Works on 3 discs on Andante, or Andante. Remember them? We've talked about them before. They were one of those early days of the internet, super-duper portal websites that was supposed to be all things to all people. And what they actually had The reason they existed was to lose piles of money so that, what's his name, from Yves Saint Laurent, Pierre, whatever his name was, I don't remember, could take over a beautiful piece of property that was in foreclosure in the south of France and which had been occupied by a French music critic by the name of Armand Panigel, who had an insane collection of 78s and historical recordings and films, historical films and all that stuff. And I stayed there a few times because my friend, the conductor, Antonio de Almeida, had a permanent apartment in this courtyarded facility that was actually an old olive oil pressing factory that was turned into this magical foundation for historical recordings in Saint-Rémy de Provence. And so Andante existed for that reason. It was a legal ploy to get the property. And when they got the property, they tanked Andante and it all disappeared. And that was really, I remember it vividly. I congratulate myself in that I was smart enough to stay away from it because I knew, I could tell something very strange was going on there. Anyway, it went, and here we have some of those historical recordings from the collection of Armand Panigel. What have we got? We've got Cluytens doing Mother Goose from 1949, Marguerite Long doing the Piano Concerto in G under Pedro Freitas Branco, who was a wonderful conductor, 1932. The Pavane pour un enfant défunt with Freitas Branco again from 1932. Daphnis and Chloé, Suite No. 1 with Monteux, 1946. Suite No. 2 with Gobert from 1930. Alborada del Gracioso with Strarum from 1931. Anyway, it's all kinds of stuff like that. We don't have to go through everything that's in here because you can't find most of it anymore. Well, at least not in this format. You may be able to find the other things, spread out on YouTube. A lot of this stuff is around. But the other conductors are Piero Coppola and Alfred Cortot and Charles Munch doing their famous, incredibly bad performance of the left-hand concerto. And Pierre Monteux, Kusevitsky doing a bunch of things. Really, really kind of cool. So I hung on to it. And this was one originally when Andante started making these things. All of these things had glue, from the spine of these fabulously deluxe booklets everywhere, mucking up the CDs, and they were unplayable. But this one is clean, so I saved it. Anyway, there you have it, my friends. Another pile of Ravel. So keep on listening. Listen lots. And take care.